I'm Gary Williams. Your reviews help other people find this podcast. If you would, please leave a review on iTunes.
So I love being a part of the Park District.
Yeah.
And also being the representative for Ward 5 because this Alameda Creek watershed is so important to me. In fact, if I ever write a book, it's going to be about the Alameda Creek watershed.
It sounds to me like you're already writing one.
Yeah, maybe one day soon you might see that.
Coming to you straight from Fremont, California, this is the Fremont Podcast, dedicated to telling the stories of the past and present of the people and places of the city of Fremont, one conversation at a time.
Hello, Fremont. Ricky told me to go to the Alameda Creek trailhead to tell you this is episode 91 of the Fremont Podcast.
Now, here's your host, Ricky B.
Erin?
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
You are one of the naturalists here?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Now, are you a naturalist just at Coyote Hills, or are you at other parks as well?
Well, I'm based here at Coyote Hills, where we have the visitor center, but other parks in our what we call our sector include Hayward Regional Shoreline and Guerin Regional Park. So I've done programs there as well.
Okay. And then how long have you been involved in the park system?
Just a little over a year.
Okay. All right. Very good. I'd love to hear what you did before this.
Well, that's a story, a long story.
Well, I'm also joined by Olivia. And is it Sanwong?
Sanwong, yes.
Sanwong, okay. And what is your official role in the park system?
Yes, I am the director for Ward 5 for East Bay Regional Parks.
Okay.
It's an elected position.
Okay.
I started on January 1 of this year, so
Wow.
I'm even newer in a sense
Yeah.
to the Park District. Although prior to my role on the board, I was on our Park Advisory Committee, which is a volunteer organization, and I did serve on the Park Advisory Committee for 8 years. So I do have a pretty long time connection to the Park District. In fact, I'll make a quick plug. I am recruiting for the Park Advisory Committee, and I'd really like to appoint someone from Fremont or Newark.
Okay.
So any listeners out there who are interested, please feel free to email me, osanwong@ebparks.org, or you can even call or text me at my Park District number of 510-387-9831.
Awesome. Very good. So what kind of a expectation or responsibility is placed on somebody in that role?
Yes, on the Park Advisory Committee, it's one meeting a month, and then there are some field trips that happen throughout the year to go and visit parks throughout the district.
Okay.
So real quick, East Bay Regional Parks covers all of Alameda County and Contra Costa County. We have a population of 2.8 million across these two counties. So
Wow.
That's a pretty significant population. I believe that's equivalent to the population of the state of Connecticut. And I know you love stories, but I'll also share, I'm a big trivia buff, so I always love to share some trivia facts.
Yeah.
Ward 5, which is the southeastern portion of Alameda County, which I represent, starts in the unincorporated eastern portion of Alameda County near Livermore, goes through Livermore, Dublin, Pleasanton, down through Sunol. Here in Fremont, I believe it's about 70% of Fremont.
Okay.
The dividing line is mostly near Civic Center area.
Okay.
Between Ward 5 and Ward 3. And then Newark is also included in Ward 5. So here in Coyote Hills, we are in Ward 5. And that's one reason why I wanted to schedule us here today so that we could profile such an important visitor center and park in the Fremont community.
That's cool. So, and you are the supervisor, or is that, you said that was your role, or what?
Board of directors.
Board of directors.
So because we are a public agency, so I represent the voters and the residents of this area in terms of providing civic oversight at the board level. And we also do approve, the budget for the park district and also the different policies that guide the park district.
Wow. So you were on the advisory board, and then prior, how did you get into doing what you're doing in the park system? Was the advisory board something that you've always wanted to do, or did you have a degree in naturalism or parks, or what's your background?
Yes. So my degree from UCLA is actually in applied mathematics.
Oh, that's
a very different role, but actually it does help because I'm a numbers person.
Okay.
And again, when
that's
we're
why you
doing
like numbers.
Budgets. Yes.
Yeah.
And my career's been in technology and biotechnology.
Okay.
Which is also really important. And also in regards to connecting with the Ward 5 population, a lot of people work in tech and biotech.
That's good.
And then I do have an MBA, and part of my MBA, I was very focused on sustainability. And I believe that that's what got me into public service.
Yeah.
So in parallel to serving on the East Bay Regional Parks Advisory Committee, I also served for 4.5 years on the Zone 7 Water Agency Board of Directors.
Okay.
And Zone 7 covers that eastern portion of Alameda County, Livermore, Dublin, Pleasanton, down through Sunol.
Wow.
So it's a pretty nice profile with the Ward 5 district within East Bay Regional Parks.
So would you say that the position that you're elected to, would you say that this is more of something, is it more of a surprise to you, or is it something that you could have seen yourself doing 10 years ago?
It's funny. I think, this past weekend, so I grew up in Pleasanton, nearby Pleasanton, and I went to Amador Valley High School, and we celebrated our 100-year centennial this past weekend.
Wow.
And I'm confident if you talk to my classmates at Amador, they wouldn't be surprised that I'm doing what I'm doing now. But I can also share with you, yes, I'm very surprised. This wasn't necessarily part of my plan, but I love the Park District. I can share with you my personal motivation. Having been on the Zone 7 Water Agency Board, one of my passions is the Alameda Creek watershed.
Okay.
And the Alameda Creek watershed, it starts on, I guess we could say this side, the south side of Mount Diablo. In fact, some of the headwaters were a recent land acquisition by East Bay Regional Parks, Finley Ranch Road. That's where Tassajara Creek starts. And we have this whole system of arroyos and creeks, starting on that south side of Mount Diablo. And all of that water eventually connects and flows through Sunol and Niles Canyon, and then goes out to the San Francisco Bay here at Coyote Hills. In fact, we have a lovely trail that you can walk or ride your bike out and see where the water enters the bay.
Yeah, I've ridden my bike because I live close to the bridge that Mission Boulevard goes across to Niles, and so we can hop on the Alameda Creek there. And I've ridden my bike all the way down here and actually out into the bay on some of these trails out here. So it's really cool.
So I love being a part of the Park District.
Yeah.
And also being the representative for Ward 5, because this Alameda Creek watershed is so important to me. In fact, if I ever write a book, it's going to be about the Alameda Creek watershed.
It sounds to me like you're already writing one.
Yeah, maybe one day soon you might see that.
That's cool. Very good. So you're on two different. So you're elected into this position. You're on the watershed board.
I had to resign from the water board because that was also an elected position. And in California, there's different conflicts of interest codes, so it's not possible to be on both.
I gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. What got you into the park system?
Well, I have always been interested in nature and teaching people about nature. Initially, I was more interested in science. And I quickly learned that a lot of science is repetitive, and you have to, you have to be kind of really objective about whatever you're studying. And I was like, I don't like that. So I really was interested in teaching others about what I was passionate about. And so that's the path that I've taken for many years now. And you said you were interested in what I was doing before.
Yeah, I was going to say, is there a short version to that story?
Well, sure.
Yeah.
So, bachelor's degree in marine biology. So my first passion is marine biology. Then I got a master's in environmental education.
Wow.
At Western Washington University.
Okay.
And my bachelor's at UC Santa Cruz. Go Banana Slugs. And then I worked at various nonprofits, worked at the Marine Mammal Center for a while, Bay Area Discovery Museum. And for 15 years, I worked at San Francisco State University's Estuary and Ocean Science Center, which is the Marine Lab up in Tiburon.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow, that's a lot. And now you're here.
Now I'm here.
How long have you lived in this area?
I just moved to Fremont when I got this job.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm enjoying learning a new place.
Yeah, what is a day-to-day, week-to-week sort of, rhythm look like for you? Like, what do you find yourself doing around here?
Well, most of the school year, we have school programs that come and visit us. And so I and another colleague would, usually tag team on doing a school program. And most of our school programs are focused on Ohlone cultures. So this is the homeland of the Tuiboon Ohlone people here at Coyote Hills. And so we always, we really focus on talking about Ohlone peoples in the present tense. We introduce some language. We introduce some uses of plants and some of the items that the Ohlone people make with the plants that are here. And it's very popular. I was just looking at, I know you don't like a lot of numbers, but I was just looking it up. We had
I'll take numbers.
Yeah, I think we had 1,500 students.
Wow.
One month this spring, we were a very, very popular park. By the way, in the spring when there were wildflowers.
Yep.
For some reason, everyone thought we were having a super bloom here. And we were very, very busy. There were lots of folks. At the same time, our roads were flooded because of all the rain. So it was a very interesting spring here.
Well, I noticed, it's September. And in previous years that I've been out here, at this point in time, all of this, the marsh area is usually, you can see the bed,
or it's dry.
Right? Or it's dry altogether.
Last year it was totally dry.
And I drove in. I haven't been in the park probably in a month or two, and I was just so excited to see the water, and it was full, and it's not maybe not entirely full, but it's the fullest I've seen it since I've lived here, and it's been 9 years. So I think that's really great.
Yeah, it is.
Really
Well,
cool.
Of course, we've had drought for many years.
Yeah.
So, we had a lot of questions about that last year. It's like, where's all the water? It's a seasonal wetland, actually. But yes, this year we're fortunate to have a good amount of water and lots of ducks and things to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a record-breaking year for rainfall here in the Bay Area this past winter of 2023.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating. As someone who's very into this idea of how do we manage our natural resources during drought times and during flood times and flood management, it's a really important conversation to have.
We'll be right back. You can hear the rest of this conversation in just a moment. Recently, my family was trying to figure out what we were going to do for dinner. We wanted a place where we were going to be served good food, we were going to be treated well, and we wanted a good atmosphere. So we decided to go to Billy Roy's Burgers. Not only does Billy Roy's have the best burgers in town, but they've also got great salads, they've got great sandwiches, and they've got great desserts. The service was efficient and friendly, and to top it all off, it's the beginning of football season. And Billy Roy's has more than adequate screens to watch your game. If you're interested in watching football, at Billy Roy's you won't miss a play. If you're looking for a place to enjoy good food and good service, I recommend Billy Roy's Burgers on Thornton Avenue. I want to tell you about Milk and Honey Cafe. They're a family-owned restaurant located on Fremont Boulevard in North Fremont. They serve fresh noodles, stir-fries, bentos, soup, vegetarian dishes, boba drinks, and so much more. And for Fremont podcast listeners, if you make a purchase of $50 or more, you get a complimentary Thai tea or a fruit tea with your purchase. You can find out how to dine in or order at milkandhoneyfremont.com. For more information and links, be sure to check out our show notes. If you want to hear more of their story, check out episode 8 on the Fremont podcast. Yeah. Well, I think that even, speaking of the Alameda Creek, I love driving up and down Niles Canyon. I do it all the time. If I have to go to Pleasanton, I always take the canyon because it's a beautiful drive, right? And it's still flowing with water, and it's beautiful. I love that.
I wish we could have it every year, but unfortunately, being in California, we will have longer periods of droughts, and that's what we have to plan for going forward.
Well, there is an El Nino forecast for this year, so we'll see.
It might be okay this year.
Maybe we'll have it again. Yeah, that's great. So you were talking about the Ohlone people, and this is their land, and I love how you mentioned it being speak of it in the present tense. So I think that's great.
Because they are still here.
They are still here. Yeah, and we have a special day. This episode will probably air just before the day that you guys have planned. But can you tell me a little bit about what is happening on October 1st, and what is the plan for this event?
Yeah, so we have the Gathering of the Ohlone Peoples, and it has been an annual event. Of course, the last few years we've done it just virtually. So this is the first time since the pandemic began that we're having it in person. So we're very excited.
That's great.
Yeah, so it'll be from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
on October 1st.
On October 1st, Sunday, October 1st. And we'll have songs and dances. We'll have different making processing acorns into food, making soap root brushes, making string with dog bane, so using various plants to make things. So there'll be a lot of like demonstrations and hands-on activities, and just really learning directly from the indigenous people that lived here. Yeah, it's the best.
Yeah. And for those who aren't able to make it on the 1st, but have an interest in learning about the Ohlone people, we do have a permanent exhibit here at Coyote Hills. And I think it's an amazing permanent exhibit, one of the few in the Bay Area featuring the Ohlone people. Do you want to talk a little bit about the permanent exhibit?
Yeah, your visitor center is fantastic. I mean, I think with a lot of the other, like there are state parks and they do a good job, even national parks, obviously they have great, but just the fact that this is a regional park and it's part of this system, coming into this welcome center, this visitor center is just really, really great. So tell a little bit about what people can experience by coming in.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
We do have a life-size Ohlone boat.
Okay.
Called, which the Chochenyo word is wali.
Okay.
That's the language that the Ohlone people speak in this area. Excuse me. We have a house. Both the boat and the house are made out of tule, which is a plant that grows out in the marsh, and the tule house is called a ruwe.
Okay.
And that's out in front of the visitor center. So even if it's closed, folks can take a look at that. They can even step inside if they want. And then we have a beautiful basket exhibit here as well, showcasing some of the just gorgeous basketry done by not just the people from this area, but also in other parts of California. So we incorporate other parts of California. And there's a really neat little diorama of an Ohlone village in miniature, and just the detail in it is just, it's really amazing. It's really fun to look at. Yeah.
That's awesome. What are some of the things that that you point out to people who come and visit that are unique to the Ohlone people? Like, what are some of the things that like they would be able to see here? So I grew up on the East Coast. And on the East Coast, we were talking about the Sioux, the Cherokee, and I didn't hear about the Ohlone people until I moved out here. And so, like, what are some of the things if somebody either moved in from even out of the country or from another part of the country? Like, what are some of the things that they would be able to learn and experience regarding the Ohlone people by coming here that would be unique to them?
Well, I think one thing that's interesting, making that contrast between the Sioux and Cheyenne and those groups, is that people don't talk about the Ohlone, or they didn't learn about the Ohlone because they were assumed to be gone. They were assumed to no longer be alive. And for many years, they were considered to be extinct. One of the things that the Ohlone peoples had to do to survive over time is to just claim that they were Mexican, or say that they were Mexican instead of being Ohlone, because there was a time in California where there was a bounty on Ohlone people. And so, yes, that's
crazy.
It's been very hard, trying times for the indigenous people here, but they are incredibly resilient. And of course, they're still here and still practicing their culture. So I think that's really the most important message that we get across in our programs, is that all of these things are part of the past, but they're also part of the present and the future, that they're still making a lot of these same things. They're doing a lot of the same things. And that's the one thing we'd like to showcase with the, or not necessarily showcase, but celebrate with great. The Ohlone Gathering.
That's great.
Yeah. And so, and many of the same plants that the Ohlone people have used since time immemorial are still growing here in Coyote Hills.
That's awesome. That's very cool. So October 1st, people get an opportunity to interact and engage with Ohlone peoples and see different things that were part of their culture and their customs. That's really cool. Very good. It's
going to be a lot of fun. Parking will be limited.
Okay.
We will be having a shuttle though for folks that because we're promised there will not be parking right in front of our visitor center. There just will not be.
Right. Well, I mean, I would even say that on any given weekend.
Well,
it's hard to
during
find
the
parking.
so-called super bloom. That was definitely the case. It was people having a hard time finding parking during that time. But it kind of our visitation kind of fluctuates throughout the year. So
and Coyote Hills is special. While East Bay Regional Parks is across Alameda and Contra Costa County. We certainly serve a greater Bay Area here at Coyote Hills, and being so close to Santa Clara County, I know I've been here at Coyote Hills walking on the trails, and I'll meet people from San Jose and from Palo Alto who are enjoying Coyote Hills. And we also will have visitors from outside the Bay Area, outside the United States, coming to our parks across East Bay Regional Park District, including Coyote Hills. So it's a very interesting place to be, to see all the different visitors that we have.
It's kind of unassuming in the sense that it's next to a place where people are usually commuting. They're coming across the Dumbarton Bridge. Everything's flat up into the water, and then all of a sudden you see these bumps, like right when you get to the mouth of the bridge, and you're like, oh, what's that? And if you don't pay attention, you may miss it. But when you come in here and you spend time in the parks, there's some really cool things to discover here. When my family moved here 9 years ago, my son was 1.5, almost 2, and we started coming here, and he would, explore as much as a 2-year-old could. And we loved being here. We still love being here. We come here quite a bit, What are some of the other things here at Coyote Hills that people? So we talked about this event with the gathering of the Ohlone peoples. What are things that people might not know about that are here at the Coyote Hills that might be of interest to them?
Yeah, I'll share in general. I know at East Bay Regional Parks, we're really proud of focusing on trying to create welcoming parks and a place to come and just take a walk in the park. It's very good for your mental health. And what I love about Coyote Hills is when I come here, I see lots of strollers, lots of children. And I think that it's a very...
Dogs.
Yeah, dogs. I think we saw some coming in today, a lot of dogs. So I think with Coyote Hills, you really get a true multi-user base. And I know in a moment we might talk about Mission Peak. Mission Peak's a little bit different, not quite as stroller friendly. And for me personally, right before I started on the board of directors, so in December, I had a 17-year-old cat that I had to euthanize. And that was probably a really tough day for me. And I just wanted to get away and go for an easy walk. And I came to Coyote Hills. And so for me and my personal mental health that day, it was just a really nice place to come to. And I want to stress that because, we talk about this a lot on the board of directors about our parks. And I know that there's, a lot of conversations about mental health. And I think we're so lucky in the East Bay to have so many different options. If you need that hard hike and want to get some aggressive exercise, we have Mission Peak for you. But if you have a stroller or you're just looking for an easier walk, 'cause maybe you're dealing with something like having to euthanize your cat, we have Coyote Hills where you can come and walk.
I love that.
Oh, and I've actually seen we have some pretty good peaks here, the tops of the hills here, and I've seen strollers going up and down those hills. It's amazing what people will do to get to the top of the hill.
There's some hardcore enthusiasts. I'm sure some strollers have made it to the top of Mission Peak.
Looking for a realtor who will keep your heart and mind at peace during the home buying process? Look no further than Jennifer Petroselli at Petroselli Homes Realty Group. Jennifer's dedication to her craft and clients is second to none. She sets the highest standard and makes sure her clients feel supported every step of the way. Just ask one happy client who said, quote, "We definitely would not have found the perfect home without the perfect realtor. Thanks again for the amazing work you do to keep the American dream alive." End quote. Contact Jennifer today and experience her dedication and expertise for yourself. I have a story of, so my family during COVID had gotten into riding our bikes a lot more. And so we brought our bikes out here a couple of years ago, maybe it was even 2020. And I had gone out into the bay on some of the trails that go out there. It was incredible. I have a story about coming across a barn owl in the middle of the night, and it was hovering over the trail where it was about ready to, grab its prey. And it's like right in front. I don't think it even noticed that we were there. which was a surprise, but it just hovered right in front of us. And then it was really cool, white barn owl. But I had ridden out there, had a great experience. And then I brought my family out here to ride along, and it was one of the windiest days that I've ever, and I had my son, who was like 7 or 8 at the time, and my wife, and we rode down, and I thought there was a way out close to where like the Dumbarton Bridge starts, and there isn't. So we've battled the wind all the way down there, only to find out that we have to come back the way we just came. And it was a lot of work. So now when I suggest riding our bikes at Coyote Hills, it's not always a favorable option for us anymore. But that was out on the bay. I mean, I think there's so many other cool trails right around the park, protected from the wind, that are really cool as well.
Yeah, the only place you can't ride your bike here at Coyote Hills is into the marsh. So like on the boardwalk of the marsh, we do not want people riding their bikes.
And that's a good place for bird watching.
Absolutely. Yeah. We are a very popular park for bird watching here.
Yes.
There's avid bird watchers that come with their giant
cameras.
Lenses.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly.
And I was like, oh, what are you here to see today? And they'll tell me the name of some bird that's like, okay, I don't. I'm fairly new to birding. I'm a slow learner when it comes to birding.
I think that was one of the first things that I'd heard about Coyote Hills when I moved here, was the amount of the variety of species that were here at Coyote Hills, especially at different times of the year. And it's phenomenal. And I've seen people out here, they know what they're doing, because you'll see 3 or 4 of them all show up with their massive camera lenses and everything. And they'll be like, they're all here for the same purpose. And like they've been doing their research.
I think it has to do with the variety of habitats in the park, because you have the San Francisco Bay, you've got a freshwater marsh, you've got, hills where birds of prey can get, thermals up off the hills, and you've got, riparian areas. It's a really diverse habitat in this park.
And this is something we really prioritize at the park district. We have 55 miles of shoreline, and I know you also work with the Hayward shoreline, and we talk a lot about what we can do in regards to helping birds and their migration patterns, and what kind of habitat we need to make sure is available for these migrating birds. And I know that there's some efforts just north of here along the Hayward shoreline to think about a very specific species that's a little bit less common, to make sure that their migratory pattern is intact.
Yeah, there's some endangered species that we're looking out for here in regional parks.
That's cool. So I have a question then. Do you see coyotes here in the hills?
That's the first question that kids ask when they get off the bus.
Where are the coyotes?
It's called Coyote Hills.
Yeah.
Well, yes, I have not seen any, but I know there have been sightings.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any personally.
I've seen one.
But I've heard them
in
the evening. Yeah.
Right.
Pretty soon when it starts getting dark earlier, it'll be, I think, common to hear them.
So I think, and I know this happened to a lot of parks around the country during COVID, when they shut down a lot of the national parks and stuff for a certain amount of time, especially that season of 2020. They started seeing animals come out that they hadn't seen in decades.
This also happened in downtown San Francisco.
Yeah, right. And but I think I think too, one of the things that I'm not a naturalist. I'm not going to even try to make anybody believe I know what I'm talking about in this. But I love riding my bike down Alameda Creek, and there are game trails down Alameda Creek, all the way from the canyon all the way down here, and you can see footprints of all different large animals. And so I'm pretty certain, whether it's bobcats or coyotes or even mountain lions, they make their way at night down the Alameda Creek all the way into this area. So I would not doubt to see if you saw coyotes. I've seen coyotes once since I've been here, and it was at dusk. And it was really cool out here. But I was curious if they're out here very often.
They are just, not usually in the middle of the day when we have school programs coming.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. What are some of the other things that are around this park that people might be interested in knowing about that maybe they'd be unfamiliar with?
Well, I think there's a lot of there's so many trails, and I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with all of the trails.
Yeah.
One of my favorites that is not very highly visited is, and now it will be, that's right. is the Willows Trail.
Okay.
So if you go, from the visitor center out over the boardwalk, past the Ohlone Village site, which, by the way, is no longer open to the public. If you keep going, you run into the Willows Trail, and it just goes through like a thicket of willows, and there's signs out there that says, "Don't feed the foxes." I'm like, okay, where are the foxes? I won't feed them, but I want to see them.
I just want to see them.
I'm still hoping to see a fox someday.
Yeah.
That's
cool.
One of my favorites. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love the, we were talking about this before just a little bit ago, but I love the different features that are around here, like the willow thicket, the rocks that are up on the up on the hills, the one rock that juts out, and it's just a beautiful feature up on that hill, and other various rocks. I've got a video. It's on my son actually has an Instagram that I've been. An Instagram account that I've been running for years called California Child. And when he was like 3 years old, we have a video of him up on one of the rocks up on Coyote Hills here. And he's 3 or 4, he's having a hard time talking, but he's like, Dad, a chameleon. And he'd been watching videos about lizards and thought every lizard was a chameleon, right? And so he's like, it's real. It head moved. And we always joke with him, it head moved. So we've got a little video of him, and there's a little lizard out there, and he's like looking at it. But it's also a place where there's tons of poison oak there as well.
Yeah,
so that was actually more comments about the poison oak. People were like, you didn't let him touch the poison oak, did you? Like, no. But he loved that. So there's a lot of different features out here of different things to see.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of fun wildlife, lizards, little tiny frogs, fun stuff to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other item I wanted to highlight is in 2021 we opened the Dumbarton Quarry Campground.
Okay.
And
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, it's our first. It's the Park District's first urban campground developed along the San Francisco Bay, and it's one of the newest large campgrounds opened in California in 3 decades.
Wow.
And I've noticed during the COVID pandemic, RVs and van life have certainly also skyrocketed in addition to bike riding.
Exactly.
And at this campground, we have 63 family campsites, 60 with the full RV recreational vehicle hookups. And it's direct access to all the trails we have here at Coyote Hills, as well as the nearby U.S. Fish and Wildlife Don Edwards National Wildlife Refuge.
That's cool. So my question is it only for RVs, or can I bring a tent and camp there?
I have seen a few tents pitched there, but I don't think it's as comfortable as it would be. I know that there are plans in the future to expand the campground, and there will be more tent sites. I couldn't say when that will be completed, but yeah, I've seen people pitch tents there. I think it is possible.
That's great.
And also in the summer, we have campfire programs. So that's something to look forward to again next summer.
At that campsite or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's an amphitheater there. And we make a little propane campfire and bring s'mores, and we have a different topic every week.
Every week?
Yeah,
okay.
Every week during the summer.
So that's you said 63 sites there? 63 different...
Family campsites, 60 with the full RV hookup.
That's awesome. Wow. So I actually, when I was working for REI, because I worked with them for about 5 years, we planned a store-wide retreat and used the group campsite that was here. Is that still operational?
At Dairy Glen,
Yeah, Dairy Glen. So we used that, and we were able to set up our whole store. Came out there for a meeting, and we set it up, and we had a great time. Loved that. That was actually when we saw the barn owl in the middle, because a bunch of us who have bikes that worked at REI. We all brought our bikes and we went for a ride at night down across the bay, and that's when we saw the barn owl. It was very cool. But is Dairy Glen still operating?
Okay. Oh yeah, definitely. It's available for reservations.
And that's a group campsite.
Yes.
Yeah. And I know that there's some stipulations on that as far as vehicles and stuff like that, but it's important, and it's important to mind all those as well.
Yes. The vehicles, I don't believe are allowed to drive all the way out to the campsite, but we do have carts that people can borrow to load up all their gear and take it out there. Yeah.
That's awesome. Very good.
Yeah, and I'll also share, we have 73 parks across the entire East Bay Regional Park District.
Wow.
I have some more fun data points.
Yeah, that'd be great. No, I want to hear about them.
125,496 acres as of today.
Wow.
And 1,330 miles of trails. And as I mentioned earlier, 55 miles of that.
How many miles is
shoreline.
that?
1,330 miles of trails. And so in terms of campsites, we do have other campsites across the park district, as well as the ability, in fact, you can go from Mission Peak to Del Val through Sunol and Ohlone parks on it depends on how fast you hike.
Backpacking trail.
Yeah, you could do it 2 nights, 3 nights, 4 nights. And there are places where you can camp along the way, get a permit, of course.
Yeah, and I think you have to get reservations on those campsites at least a week in advance. I think is what at least it was when I checked it out. Like if you're gonna backpack, because so when I worked for REI, I did a lot of classes and taught a lot about backpacking and stuff. And so people would ask, "Where's the closest place to go?" And so I did a lot of research on it. And I think it has changed. The one thing I love about this is that it used to be that you'd have to either call in or it was all very, very, it was a slow process. Now you can do it online, which I think is amazing. You can get a reservation online. So I don't know if maybe you have to get it a week out anymore, but I know that before when it wasn't online, you'd have to plan ahead in order to be able to do any kind of backpacking.
And I'm sure it depends on demand, right?
Right. Yeah,
if you want to go a week when there's lots of people that have already signed up, then
But I was gonna say that trail from Mission Peak or Sunol out to Del Val is just incredible, and it is not easy. I mean, it's there's parts of it that are a bit challenging. So.
Well, I would also like to add that the Ohlone Wilderness requires a wilderness permit to hike there, good. And we sell those permits here at the Coyote Hills Visitor Center. So
that's
people
awesome.
are looking for that.
Yeah, that's very good. Yeah, I think that people don't realize, and I think it is important. I mean, this is the Fremont podcast. I wanted to focus on Fremont, but the truth is that there are so many things directly connected to the Fremont area. Like Sunol Regional Wilderness is just an amazing place to get out and see different things. You have Del Val, which is a great place. You can swim in the summertime. You can rent boats, rent canoes, or whatever. And all those are part of the park system, and they're really, really close to Fremont. And I think that helping people to realize that getting out into these parks and out into the wilderness is not harder. It's not that hard. It's easier than people would imagine. So I think that's really good to make people aware of that.
And then back to my earlier point, thinking about water and our waterways and the Alameda Creek watershed. All of the water that flows through Sunol comes through Niles and then enters the San Francisco Bay here at Coyote Hills. So it's connected in that natural way. Yeah. But then in terms of turning on your drinking water tap at home, that water here in Fremont is serviced by Alameda County Water District, ACWD, and they are a part of what we call the South Bay Aqueduct. So Zone 7, the board that I was previously on, is also part of that group. And then Santa Clara Valley Water in Santa Clara County is a part of it. And Del Val is the drinking water reservoir. So when you go to Del Val, as a Fremont resident, you are looking at the reservoir for your drinking water that is serviced through ACWD. Wow. And I'm going to even take this one step further.
Sure.
Del Val is part of the State Water Project. As I mentioned, it's on the South Bay Aqueduct. That water comes from the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta. And one of the things I wanted to mention is, again, this is a Fremont podcast, but it's really fun to take day trips.
Yeah.
And the one park that I wanted to highlight today as a really excellent day trip is Big Break in Oakley.
Okay.
So it's far from here, but it's a great day trip. It's right on the San Joaquin River. So you can go and see the Delta where your drinking water comes from if you live here in Fremont.
Yeah.
And there's kayaking, there's an excellent visitor center that talks all about California water, and it's a really nice place to maybe go and spend the day.
That's great.
That's
really
a
great.
very, very accessible park as well.
Okay.
For people with all abilities can enjoy that park and the visitor center.
Wow, that's great. Well, are there any other parks in Fremont that we might be missing? I know that we've alluded to or referred to Mission Peak, and I know that that's one that is very traveled.
We have Quarry Lakes in Fremont.
Yeah, that's a beautiful place.
And that's co-managed with that ACWD, the Alameda County Water District.
That's right. That's right, because that's one of the places I ride my bike, also Alameda Creek up to the Quarry Lakes and around there. And I see the water district there all the time doing different things along that area. So
a few things I also want to mention. We have a easy to remember website, ebparks.org.
Okay.
So all 73 of our parks, you can access information about visiting the parks as well as the overall park district. I do want to share a few remarks about Mission Peak, because I know this is in the news right now here in Fremont.
Oh my goodness, devastating. The pole, the peaker pole got...
Wasn't it found, though?
It was found, and I don't know...
By the park district.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody... I've not heard what the plan is moving forward with that.
So I'll share some talking points.
I'm all ears.
And this might be the first time these talking points are being shared, so this is an exclusive.
Oh, wow.
For the Fremont
Breaking news.
I have been looking
podcast.
for what's going to happen, because it's important. There's so many people. I try not to get mad easily. I was very angered when I saw that somebody had done that. So I'm very eager to hear what the solution or what the approach might be going forward.
I mean, I'd love for someone to share with me this following, again, me loving my trivia facts. What is the most Instagram spot in Fremont?
Yeah.
And I'm sure this is a candidate.
Top, one of the top for sure. Sure.
So I can share, at the park district, we are so sad about this incident in our park. And we have recovered the top half of the pole, and it is in safekeeping, I can share. We do have our own police department at East Bay Regional Parks District. And so our public safety department, our police are investigating this incident. This is an active investigation right now. We actually, they want me to share the phone number if anybody has any information to help us with this investigation. That number is 510-690-6521. And we really hope that if anyone in the community has information, they will share about that incident. It's important for us to figure out why this happened, who did it. And so please reach out to that number, 510-690-6521.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's devastating. I don't know. I mean, I was trying to think about why someone would even want to do something like that. It doesn't make sense to me. And I do think it's something that's important. It's something special to Fremont, the people that go up there. I actually did an Instagram video the last time I was up there, which happened to be about 2 weeks before this incident happened. And I did an Instagram video about what the pipes were on the pole, and letting them know that this was designed for the purpose of drawing people's attention to different features around the Bay Area, whether it's a mountain, Mount Diablo, or a city, or other natural features around the Bay. And it got a lot of traffic. People responded to it. I did not know that's what it was for. But it's just a shame that happened. And I think a lot of people, it definitely is iconic. And so for it to have it vandalized like that is just devastating. So, I hope we can figure out.
Yes.
I hope we can figure out, what happened, why it happened, and then a way that we can restore at least something to be able to bring it back. So,
yes. If anyone has any information, please reach out to the East Bay Regional Parks Police Department. In terms of other parks here in Fremont, Ardenwood certainly is a very popular park.
Yeah.
How could I forget
They've
Ardenwood?
got so many events going on there as well all the time. I feel like it's just so busy, and it's wonderful. It's like I can't remember what it was that we went to. It was the sheep shearing event, I think, and that was really cool.
It is really cool.
It is.
Yes.
It was so many people. I have a video of hundreds of people lined up waiting to get in, but it was really cool. And they do demonstrations, sheep herding with sheepdogs, and then they've got wool, making things with wool. I don't remember exactly. They have a blacksmith doing a demonstration. This is really cool. Very, very cool.
And then our other park in Fremont is Vargas Plateau.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
right. I guess that is considered also in Fremont.
Certainly, there's
It
a lot
is.
of conversation about Vargas Plateau, which I'm also going to mention in December. We do have regular liaison meetings where two members of the East Bay Regional Parks Board, obviously I'm one of them, and Fremont, like I mentioned, around the Civic Center area is split into two different districts within the East Bay Regional Park Board of Directors. So our current president, Dennis Waspy, is the Ward 3 director, and represents the area that Vargas Plateau is in. So we will be at the liaison meeting with City of Fremont, where there is a member of the Fremont City Council, as well as Fremont Parks and Recreation Commission that will be in attendance at that meeting. And so that's a really good time for members of the Fremont public to come out to a local meeting to talk about all the different parks that we just mentioned.
Yeah.
And
you said that was in December?
It'll be in December, early December.
All right.
But otherwise, our East Bay Regional Parks Board of Directors meetings are also open to the public, and they are hybrid meetings.
Yeah.
And so if you don't want to come to our headquarters in Peralta Oaks, Oakland, you're welcome to call in via Zoom and offer public comment and participate.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. What are some of is there anything else that we're missing? I mean, is there anything that people need to know about? I know that one thing that we talked about before we started recording was the surprise that I heard from people that there was a partnership with the library system for the backpacks and all the stuff that comes in the backpack that helps people explore the parks better. And that's really, really cool. So I loved seeing those nice backpacks with the patch on it from the park system and all the equipment that you could have to come out and explore the parks. So that was really cool. So if anybody's listening to this episode and you did not listen to the library episode, you need to go back and listen to that, because there's a segment in there that talks about the connection that they have with the park system, which I think is really great. So
yes, and I believe that's all Alameda County Library sites will have this backpacks program. Yes, where you can basically, similar to a library book, you can also, I guess, rent or take one of these backpacks, and it includes a pass into the parks, which includes Coyote Hills, and there might be binoculars in there and some other things that one might like to have while visiting. There was
going back to our bird watching, there was like a bird manual or something, bird guide. Yeah, that was cool.
Which is great, because we do have some of our own unique species here in the East Bay.
Yeah, that's cool. So I have a question. I asked you this. I think I mentioned I was going to say this, but is there something that people regularly do here at Coyote Hills that you just wish they didn't do? Like something they shouldn't be doing. They feel like they have liberty to do whatever they want, and you're like, I just wish that people would keep this in mind, and we would really like it for people not to be doing this. Anything like that, or even some of the other parks around the district?
I think if for me it would be just please stay on the trails.
Yeah.
And give, as we say, give plants a chance, because, there can be some rare species here. There's, small little critters, you might be stepping on. So, yes, I would just ask that people to please stay on the trails.
Yeah. There's also not just, we want to protect the space as well, but there's also, rattlesnakes out there, and there's other things that could potentially be dangerous as well. So.
I think we don't see rattlesnakes
here
at Coyote Hills
much,
as often as other parks.
Yeah.
But yes, there are other snakes, and everything here is an important part of the ecosystem.
That's right.
So we don't want to hurt anybody or anything.
Bother that too much. Yeah.
I can share on the board of directors, one of the big conversations we're having, and actually next week we will be having a workshop on trails.
Okay.
And it's really, since the pandemic, we've seen more hikers, more bikers, more people out in the parks, which is great. As I mentioned earlier, being able to take a walk in the park is so good for our mental health, and so important to be outside. And, on days when the sun's shining, to have, the sun shine on you while you're walking is such a important experience. But what happens, I think our parks are more popular than ever. And so we do have some trail user conflicts, and we do need to have some conversations about that. Do we need to think about, adding more bike-only trails, for example, or some hiker-only trails. One of the other things that comes up, and actually while I was on the Park Advisory Committee, we really helped to lead this conversation about dogs on leash versus off leash. And again, thinking about some sensitive habitats, when we have very strict rules about dogs,
right?
It really is to help protect some of our sensitive species. So just following those rules about dogs, while some parks we will allow dogs off leash, when we have the rule that says to be on leash, please follow those rules.
Yeah, and I think we are very, very fortunate in the East Bay Regional Park District that there are so many places that we can bring our dogs. I'm a dog owner, and I love that, there's so many trails that I can bring my dog. And so I think, I feel grateful for that, and I totally understand that there's places that are not okay for dogs, and I'm just very thankful for the ones that are available.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's exactly right. That's good. So, maybe I should have asked this question at the beginning. What room are we in?
We are sitting. Where
are we here? Yeah.
We're sitting in what we call our wetlands classroom.
Okay.
And so yes, it's just we're sitting at a table with. There's a lot of cabinets around the walls that have stored all of our educational materials.
Yeah,
we've got some few specimens
wasp's nests up there, and some bones, and some.
The cart of curiosities.
The cart of
curiosity.
Yeah, I see that on the weekends when I'm here.
Yes, we do use that for programs. Especially if we have something inside or just outside the visitor center, because it's not really an off-road cart. It doesn't travel far.
So what are the classes that are taught here, and who gets to attend?
So
those?
we don't. To still call it a classroom is maybe a bit misleading, because we don't tend to have classes in here.
Okay.
As they used to be before the pandemic. I think we even had birthday parties here at one point.
Okay.
And there were classes inside, but we haven't been doing that.
Okay.
Since we've reopened after the pandemic. It's mostly storage and a meeting space. But we have two school programs that we offer here: the Ohlone Cultures program, and Wetland Wanderers, which is more popular in the spring. And we go into the wetlands and collect samples of water and see what's in there. And then on weekends, we have just a wide variety of different programs that are led by either myself or my colleague Martha, or even our interpretive student aides that are here. And they're mostly college students that work at the visitor centers on weekends. And they do programs with some of our animals, like a gopher snake, a red-eared slider turtle, or alligator lizard, or other programs that they just kind of do on the fly.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Well, I think this is great. This would be an inspiring place just to come and hang out. I love what the East Bay Parks offers. I love Coyote Hills, what it offers. And I just hope people, two things. I hope they can come and take advantage of it, just enjoy the space, but then also respect it and realize that it's something that it's a gift to our community. It's something that we can share together in and really help it be a better place for us to live. So I love that.
Well, yeah, everyone shares the East Bay Regional Parks. They're for everyone.
Right. Yeah, that's great. Guys, thank you so much for joining me on this. This is awesome. I appreciate your information, the investment that you guys make into the park system. And thank you very much for being a part of the podcast. Any closing remarks that we need to make?
Yes, I want to say, come visit a park, any park. And if you want to find out more information, ebparks.org. You can read about any one of our 73 parks. And it's really great just to get out and walk. Coyote Hills is a wonderful park for many different types of users. So for those of you in Fremont, if you haven't been here, what have you been doing?
That's right. Where do you go? What do you do? Yeah, that's right.
I actually hear from a lot of folks that I meet on the trail that it's like, oh my gosh, I used to come here years ago and it was nothing like this. It's so much better now. Or the other thing I hear is like, oh, I never knew this was here.
Right.
So it's a hidden gem.
Yeah.
So yes.
What is happening? What's the big picture of what's happening as you come in? Because there's a lot of construction happening out there.
Yes, right at our entrance near Paseo Padre.
Yeah.
There's going to be a new entry kiosk, a new parking lot that will hold at least 100 cars. There'll be picnic areas. There will be interpretive signs, restrooms, of course. And there's several new trails that are opening up with overlooks and interpretive signs as well.
Nice. Yeah. I saw there was a lot of trees being planted in one particular area.
Yes, there's a major habitat restoration.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. That's awesome. I think that I was at one of the meetings that they had when they were talking about that property. And it was a very important meeting. And I remember being there and asking some questions, but I don't know that I knew what happened after that. So it's really cool to see a lot of that being developed.
Yeah, that was land that was donated by the Patterson
family.
Yeah, descendants. So it's a really wonderful donation.
That's cool.
Very excited about it.
That's great. Do we have any idea when we can expect to see that finished, or?
It's been kind of a moving target, but it should be open early next year.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Very good. Well, thank you, ladies, so much. Appreciate it so much for joining me on the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hope to hear more and see more of you guys and the park in the future.
This episode was hosted and produced by Ricky B. Scheduling and pre-interviews by Sarah S. Rachel Prey is the print editor in charge of our newsletter. I'm Gary Williams. Andrew Cavett is the editor. Music provided by Soundstripe.com. Be sure to subscribe wherever it is that you listen so you don't miss an episode. You can find everything we make, the podcast, our newsletter, and all of our social media links at thefremontpodcast.com. Join us next week on The Fremont Podcast.
There was a time in California where there was a bounty on Ohlone people.
This is a Muggins Media podcast.